So how do you work through an insurance claim as a roofing contractor with your roofing customer? We've had a few questions about this recently, and so to help other roofers understand the process and how to get the best reputation, I'm walking you through the process that we use at Roofer Chicks that has won us awards. So let's dive into the actual job site visits. We bid both retail and insurance jobs. And so when we go out, sometimes it's hard to know if you're bidding a retail or an insurance job. And probably the best way is just to ask the customer if they've had their insurance come out and take a look at it, or if they plan on having their insurance come out and take a look at it. We also at that visit get on the roof and look and see if there's any damage. And so if they have damage, then we advise the customer that they might want to call it into their insurance. And that's totally up to them. We're pretty low pressure. We also we try not to tell them to call it in if we don't think there's enough damage there to qualify for the claim. And we've had it happen where another roofer comes behind us and gets them to call it in, and they end up with a claim and somebody else does the roof. But we've taken as our stance that we want to be honest with the customer. We don't want them to have to pay their deductible if there's not enough damage to justify it, if they don't need a new roof. Because let's face it, we've had customers where we've legitimately redone their roof 3 times and those deductibles start to add up. So we try to do what's best for them. Of course, we want to replace the roof if it comes down to that. But so finding out if it's insurance or if it's going to be a cash bid is a big deal. Sometimes they let us know that's an insurance claim, but they don't want to show us their paperwork. That happens quite a bit. I try to explain to them that I can give them a cash bid. It's no big deal to me. I can give them a cash bid. But a lot of times if I give them a cash bid, my cash price is going to be more than what their insurance is paying. Not always, but probably 90-95% of the time. And it would be better for them to share their insurance paperwork with me, because insurance companies a lot of times leave off part of the scope and they're not being paid in full for the damages that they incurred on their house. And if they will let me look at it, then I can find the items that are missing and send a proper scope to their insurance company and get that payout closer to what I would charge for a retail job. So that's how we handle that. So once we've talked to the customer and we told them, let's say we found storm damage up there, and we suggest that they call their insurance company and file a claim. We can't file the claim for them. They have to file their own claim. We can sit there while they call in the claim. Sometimes customers are uncomfortable for whatever reason calling, and that is a service that we would provide. We would sit there. But I found that it makes whoever answers the phone at the insurance company super suspicious that the roofer is sitting there. And I think it's better, honestly, if I'm not sitting there. But if the customer wants us to, we will. I certainly don't push for that. So they call their insurance company. I tell them that once they do that, if they will let me know when the adjuster is coming out, that we would be more than happy to meet the adjuster and walk the roof with them, and that's to their advantage, because basically we can be their eyes and ears up on the roof and kind of represent them to the insurance company. And usually the insurance adjuster likes it too, because you can tell them what you saw, they can say what they saw, and you can come to an agreement, hopefully, on the scope of work. But if the customer doesn't feel comfortable with having us there, then I'm not pushy there either. Some people, it makes them uncomfortable, and the more you push, the more uncomfortable they get. By saying it's okay, I believe that we get up there more often than not by not being so pushy. We're not very pushy, as you can tell. So the adjuster comes out and we go out there and we meet them. I never, ever, ever argue with an adjuster. I find that 90% or more of adjusters are wonderful human beings, and they are out there to do their job, and I am out there to do my job, and I respect what they do. I've learned a lot from adjusters over the years. The first time I went out and met an adjuster, I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't even know what hail damage was. So asking them what they think and what they're looking for, they like it. It makes them feel important. People like to have their opinion valued, and I think it goes better. And I've learned a lot. Even if what they call hail damage or what they call blisters, even if I don't agree with them and what they're saying, I still get to learn about what different people think and to hear the reasons why. And there's a lot to be learned. If we disagree, if I don't agree with the adjuster, I don't see any point in getting in a fight with them. I just say we agree to disagree. That's not what I think. And generally, I will ask for a re-inspect if I feel confident that the adjuster is wrong. I don't argue with the adjuster on site because I never change their mind, and it only makes things worse. I also don't tell them that I'm going to ask for a re-inspect because that just gets them agitated. And there's just no sense to it. It's unprofessional. I don't record them. It just doesn't go anywhere. And you can almost always get a re-inspect if you really disagree with what's going on. Sometimes I've found an adjuster comes out and they're looking for a fight. And usually that's because they've had a bad experience with other contractors. If I can't get them out of that, a lot of times I'm successful at getting them to back off a little bit. But if I can't get them out of that, then I don't worry about it. I don't get on the roof if they don't want me on the roof. I don't push to use their ladder. And speaking of ladders, when you go out, if you get there before the adjuster, which you always should, I go ahead and set my ladder and offer them to use it. And that usually helps assuage the emotions too. Sometimes they'll say they can't use their ladder, and usually I know that this is going to be a tough one if that's how that goes. So up on the roof, I never circle hits before the adjuster gets there, and I don't usually point out damage until the adjuster asks me if I would like to point out. I say to them, you know, this is your job, you know what you're doing, and I'm just here to support my customer, and let me know if you need any help. And then a lot of times they'll ask what you see, especially if it's borderline, and then at that point I'll show them what I see. I think when you go up there and circle hits before they even get there, that's really presumptuous and it sets a bad tone. So I don't ever do that. Sometimes an adjuster will ask you to circle the hits, and that's always a good sign, and I'll go ahead and do that. To me, I'm there to help in any way that I can. I am not the insurance policyholder, and I am not the insurance company, and I'm just a third party, really. And I try and keep that in mind. I like to hear about, I do a lot of small talk. I ask them where they're from, because a lot of times they're from out of town. I ask them how long they've been doing it, what their background is, but in a friendly way, not like I'm interrogating them. If they have kids, usually I can find some common ground. And just like with a customer, I find it's really important to establish rapport with the insurance adjuster. Also, on getting there before the insurance adjuster, I have found that sometimes, especially when the adjuster knows that they're meeting a contractor, say they gave the customer a window of 11 to 1, they'll show up at 10:30 trying to beat you and get out of there before you get there. So I usually try and show up 30 minutes early. I show up 30 minutes early. I go ahead and set the ladder. I get up on the roof and refresh my memory about what I saw and what I'm doing, and wait for them. Another thing, so the first time I ever went to a job site where the adjuster told me that I couldn't use his ladder, it made me so mad. It made me so mad, and I didn't even get on the roof. I was insulted, I was infuriated, and that was a big mistake. I didn't get on the roof, and then once the adjuster left, the customer ended up being upset with me. I don't think he was quite emotionally stable, but anyway, always get on the roof. The adjuster says you can't use his ladder, just calmly say, that's fine, and go get your ladder, go set your ladder, or it should already be set. But anyway, just use your own ladder. It's not that big of a deal, and you need to be up on the roof, especially with an adjuster that won't let you use his ladder. And that's I mean, technically from their employer, they're not allowed to let you use their ladder. And so if you have a rule follower or that's just their policy, there's nothing to get insulted about. Just use your own ladder. You're used to it. At the end of the inspection, when it's all said and done, especially if I think that they're going to cover the roof, I do a double check about components. I say, hey, what about the chimney flashing? What about that low slope area? I'm going to have to put ice and water shield underneath that to meet code, that kind of thing. And if they say, a lot of times they'll say, well, I can't do that right now. You'll have to do it when it's incurred. I don't get in an argument at that point either. But a lot of times when you bring it up, they'll go ahead and throw it in, and it's a lot easier to get it on the front end then than it is to get it later. So once the inspection is done, usually go down. The insurance adjuster meets with the homeowner, and they kind of usually tell them, sometimes they tell them what they saw, sometimes they're not allowed to tell them what they saw. And I hang out and I wait until the adjuster leaves, and then go ahead and close that loop with the customer and set any expectations that maybe the adjuster didn't set. I tell them it usually takes 7 to 10 days to hear back from the adjuster. When they hear back from the adjuster, they're going to get a claims report. That report is usually 6 to 8 pages long. I need all the pages, not just the cover page. And if they can email it to me, that would be great. And then at that point, I'll look at what they have. I'll go over the scope, and I should be able to give them an estimate, at least a preliminary preliminary estimate. One thing I haven't talked about is photos. You want lots and lots of photos. So we take photos the first visit when there's no insurance adjuster there, and we give those to the customer, and a lot of times they can take those and forward them to their insurance company when they file the claim. The day that the adjuster comes out, take more photos. I do it to keep for my own records. Like a lot of times when I go to make my material order, I'm like, man, what size pipe was that? So, you know, like trying to get everything so you know it's there. And then I also take photos of what the insurance adjuster writes up, all his chalk on the roof. And I try not to be real like, oh my God, I'm taking photos. You know, just kind of go behind him after the fact and just take pictures of what he's circling, in case sometimes it seems like the adjuster on the roof is going to cover the roof and there's legit damages, and then the desk adjuster will say, no, there's no damages. And so having pictures of his pictures can really help you on the back end. And once it rains, that chalk washes off. So you're not going to be able to get it later. You need to get it that day while they're there. If you're not comfortable taking pictures in front of the adjuster while he's there, wait till after he leaves and then get back up on the roof and go ahead and take those pictures so that you have them. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below and we'll answer them. Or there's also going to be a part 2 and part 3 of this video series. So be on the lookout for that. Go ahead and subscribe so that you get notified when they come out.